On a cold November afternoon, a man walked up to an airline counter in Portland, Oregon.
He was quiet and polite. He wore a dark suit, a white shirt, and a black tie. He looked like any other businessman heading home for the holidays. He bought a one-way ticket to Seattle. He used cash. The name he gave was Dan Cooper. No one at the airport paid him much attention. He was just another face in the crowd, another passenger waiting for his flight. Little did anyone know, this ordinary-looking man was about to commit one of the most audacious crimes in American history. Who was this man, Dan Cooper? For decades, that has been the central question of this mystery. The FBI investigated thousands of potential suspects, but his true identity was never confirmed. His knowledge of the Boeing 727 was particularly striking. He knew about the aft stairs, a unique feature of that aircraft model. This led many to believe he had a background in aviation, or perhaps was a military veteran, maybe even a paratrooper. He boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. The plane was a Boeing 727. He sat in the back, in seat 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda from the flight attendant. He handed her a note. She thought it was just another flirtatious message. She slipped it into her purse without reading it.
He leaned closer to her and spoke softly. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb."
He opened it just enough for her to see a mess of red wires, a large battery, and what looked like sticks of dynamite. The threat was real. He wanted $200,000 in cash. He also wanted 4 parachutes. If his demands were not met, he would blow up the airplane. When Flight 305 finally landed in Seattle, the exchange was carried out exactly as Cooper had demanded. A single airline employee brought the money and parachutes to the plane. In return, Cooper allowed all passengers and 2 flight attendants to leave. He instructed the pilots to take off again. His new destination was Mexico City, but he gave them flight parameters that made the trip impossible. He ordered them to fly at a low altitude under 10,000 feet, at a slow speed of around 200 miles per hour. Cooper was now alone in the passenger cabin with his money and his parachutes. He then had to step out onto the stairs, holding a 20-pound bag of money, and leap into the freezing, rain-swept darkness. Dan Cooper had stepped out of the airplane and into legend. The largest and most intensive manhunt in United States history began immediately. The FBI, along with local police and military personnel, descended on the suspected jump zone. The search area was vast and incredibly difficult to navigate. It was a landscape of dense forests, deep ravines, and fast-flowing rivers. The search was a massive undertaking, but it yielded nothing. They found no broken tree branches, no discarded parachute, no footprints, and not a single one of the 10,000 $20 bills. It was as if Dan Cooper had simply evaporated into thin air. Then, in 1980, an 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was on a family vacation, having a picnic on the sandy banks of the Columbia River. While digging in the sand, the boy's hands uncovered 3 bundles of rotting cash. The FBI checked the serial numbers. It was a match. So why has the story of D.B. Cooper endured for so long? It is because the case represents the perfect mystery, with all the elements of a great story. In an age of surveillance cameras, DNA testing, and advanced forensic science, the idea that someone could commit such a brazen crime and get away with it seems almost impossible. Cooper wasn't a violent monster. He was polite, calm, and didn't physically harm anyone. He took on a big, faceless corporation and the powerful federal government, and he won. In 2016, the FBI officially announced that it was closing its active investigation into the D.B. Cooper case. After 45 years, they had exhausted all credible leads. We don't know who he was, and we don't know if he survived. Did he live out his days in quiet wealth on a tropical beach, or did his story end in a cold, dark forest? D.B. Cooper didn't just steal $200,000. He stole a piece of our collective imagination, and he never gave it.